now a new weapon for destabilization, which is a new weapon for creating chaos in societies, which is a new weapon for extremist ideologies. So we have to guard against misinformation. So everything and anything that comes on social media cannot be taken as truth. And our youth must develop this ability, a cognitive ability, that they must verify and they must see the authenticity of information being fed to them. Because now data analytics with social media, the two have become a very lethal weapon. You can be manipulated without you knowing who is manipulating you in which direction. So what we have in Quran 1400 years ago is relevant today, most relevant today, that whenever anyone brings you news or any irresponsible person brings you a news, do not believe in it until you have verified it, lest that you may have to regret that why you believed that information. So this duty to verify any information that is brought to you was given to us as a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it has become most relevant in today's age of misinformation. Any message which feeds hate in your mind must be rejected, because hate is the starting point of extremism, and extremism it is starting point of terrorism. This goes full cycle. So we must be very careful. I remember I once was attending a workshop in France on extremism and terrorism. So what they were discussing was that what promotes terrorism and extremism in behavior. So there were many explanations. Some said lack of education, some said lack of economic opportunities, some said lack of justice, and blah, 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 so many factors. So there was one German professor who happened to be Jew. He was professor emeritus at Oxford University, 80-year-old, very old man. So he was also attending that workshop, and he kept listening to the discourse and discussion. So then in the end he said, how do you explain that what happened in Germany through Nazis? Were German people illiterate? Were German people uncivilized? They were the most civilized people in Europe, so a very educated nation. But what they did at that time, today they feel so sorry that they would not even like to be reminded of that period. So why did that happen? So he said, humans are the best form of creation. But if in human computer, 2 viruses are injected, those viruses can turn humans into beasts. And those viruses are virus of hate and virus of prejudice. If you inject hate and prejudice in human mind loses its rationality. Then it turns humans into beasts. They can then see color of their own bias in the whole world. If the glass of my the glasses is yellow, a color is yellow of my glasses, I will see everything yellow. If it is green, everything will be green. So if your mind gets tainted with hate and prejudice, you begin to see the world colored through the prism of your own hate and bias. So it is very important that if we have to maintain our rationality, if we have to maintain our sobriety, we must not let these viruses enter our minds. Because if they enter your mind, you lose the ability to work with anyone else who does not believe in truth like you. And I always tell our youth that the story of reality is oftentimes like tale of four blind men and an elephant. When they asked four blind men to describe by experiencing an elephant, what is an elephant like? One of them touched elephant's legs and said, well, it's a big column-like animal. The other one touched elephant's stomach and he said, no, you are wrong. Elephant is like a stone, like a rock. The third one touched elephant's ears and he said, you both are wrong. Elephant is a very delicate animal. And the fourth one touched elephant's trunk and he said, you all three are lying. Elephant is like a snake. So now all four were describing reality based on their own experience, whereas the total reality was sum total of the experiences all of the four had in their individual cases. So very often and mostly, the reality is not what we experience individually, it can be sum total of the experiences of others who may have different experiences. But if we start to believe that what I believe and what I have experienced is absolute truth, and there is no space for any other point of view, that is where we have intolerance, and that intolerance leads towards extremism and then subsequently to other terrorist ideologies. So the youth must understand that we have to learn in future to develop unity and diversity. Just as you have a right to hold opinion, others have equal right to hold opinion. Their opinions may not be same like yours, but just as you respect your opinion, you must respect others' opinion also. And if you want to have a peaceful society, then you cannot resolve your differences through violence. It has to be through dialogue and consensus. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying that while military and law enforcement actions remain crucial, they alone are insufficient. Counter-terrorism must go beyond the battlefield, incorporating non-kinetic measures that address the root causes of extremism, build societal resilience, and prevent future radicalization. As outlined in National Internal Security Policy, the battle against terrorism must be fought in ideological domain. We need to invest in curriculum reforms that we are doing now that promote critical thinking, tolerance, and pluralism. The importance of community-based counter-terrorism strategies must be recognized. Local communities and religious leaders must be empowered to counter radicalization at the grassroots level. The use of mosques, schools, and media to promote message of peace, tolerance, and national unity is critical. Programs like Paigam-e-Pakistan serve as a powerful tool in this regard, providing a platform for Islamic scholars to condemn extremism and terrorism. A key component of non-kinetic measures is the rehabilitation and reintegration of former extremists. We must help them to reintegrate back into society. These programs must be expanded to cover more regions and provide vocational training, psychological counseling, and education to dissuade individuals from returning to extremist activities. As more terrorist activities move online, cyber terrorism has emerged as a critical threat. In response, we must strengthen our cyber security infrastructure and train law enforcement agencies to counter cyber radicalization. Public-private partnerships with tech companies are essential for monitoring and removing extremist content on digital platforms while ensuring that our legal frameworks keep pace with emerging cyber threats. Poverty and lack of opportunities fuel terrorism. Therefore, we must use development as a means to counter terrorism. We must strengthen our law enforcement and intelligence agencies so that through advanced training, better coordination and access to modern technology, the capacity to detect, prevent and respond to threats should be continually improved, particularly in areas such as cybersecurity, data sharing and cross-border intelligence cooperation. We must empower our civil society to play a crucial role in countering radicalization by fostering dialogues, conducting awareness campaigns and supporting victims of terrorism. Civil society can help heal communities torn apart by violence.